Welcome, scientists and fiber friends. Today I'm going to be explaining a critical concept for medical laboratory science, and it is called continuous quality improvement. And I'm going to demonstrate that by showing you several pairs of socks that I've knitted over the last couple of years and kind of explain what continuous quality improvement is. So, without further ado, let's go see some socks. So, a wonderful way of illustrating continuous quality improvement is to show you my sock knitting journey. I'll be showing you several pairs of socks that will illustrate how I've gone from just literally following a pattern and thinking that I did things correctly to actually learning how to adjust things so that each consecutive pair of socks then has improvement upon the previous pair, which is called continuous quality improvement. And in the laboratory, it's a very important concept and process that we use because things are constantly changing as far as technology. We're looking for constant ways to improve and enhance patient care. So this will help illustrate what I mean by continuous quality improvement. So this is my first pair of socks that I ever knit. And mind you, I had been looking at people knitting socks for a couple of years before I decided to try. This is a yarn that has a self-striping pattern in it, which I thought would make it really fun to do as a first pair of socks. I did okay on the ribbing, and I did okay matching up the patterns for each leg, starting at the same spot and going down. So the legs are good, the legs fit, I'm happy with the legs. And then you get to the feet. And I will let you know that I did try these on several times, and they're very stretchy. So when I put them on my feet, I was like, yeah, this is awesome. This is going to work. And I had never done a heel before. This is a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which looks pretty cool. I like it. I like the process of knitting it. How it fits my foot is not so good. But then the actual length of the foot, when I was wearing it, I discovered it's way too short. It bunches up on my toes and stuff, which anyone who's knitted socks obviously can tell that's way too short because my feet are not that small. So, but I did learn how to do a toe, did, rounded toe on both. And so this was an awesome first attempt, I thought. I was very proud of these, very proud of these. Next pair that I did was another pair that had the yarn was dyed in a particular pattern. So you just kind of follow the pattern. In this case, though, it had built-in contrast for the toes, cuffs, and heel. I'll get it right. So you start cuff down, you knit until you get to this, and then you keep knitting this until you get to the brown color, and then you knit your heel, and then when the brown color stops, then you knit your foot, and then when you get to the next brown color, you knit your toe. So awesome, right? Well, you can tell these are kind of small too. What happened with these, though, was not related to the knitting process at all. I wore these a couple times. They were awesome, but I accidentally put them in the washing machine, and it was with, jeans and those kinds of things, and you can tell it's kind of felted. There's not much stretch there in either direction. So another lesson learned. These are really cool socks, but yeah, Got to be careful with them in the washing machine, especially if you've got other bulkier things that you're using. So process was good. It initially fit, but handling of the socks, not so good. So another improvement opportunity there. So then the next pair of socks I knit, I decided I was going to do my own, well, not my own, but take an attempt at a pattern. And those of you who knit socks will recognize this pattern right away. This is Hermione's Everyday Socks. And I thought it's a really simple pattern, so I'll give it a go. And you can also tell if you're an experienced knitter, sometimes I wasn't able to, or I was not paying attention, and I didn't hit the pattern 100%, but that's okay. Learning experience, right? Teach me how to pay attention. But you can see the cuff is good. I'm happy with the cuff. The leg length is good. This was my first attempt at a heel flap and gusset. And I think it turned out pretty well. I did the slip stitch heel, traditional gusset, and then carried it down into my foot, and then did a rounded toe. Lesson on this one. Pay attention to which toe you did. I don't know if you can tell, the toes on these are different. One is more rounded than the other, but they're going to be in my shoe. Doesn't matter. So I'm really happy with these. Really happy. I love the color. I love the pattern, and they're very comfortable. Very comfortable. You can probably tell. I've worn them quite a few times. They've been washed quite a few times. This is acrylic yarn. This is not wool. It's wool like Simililane. So I highly recommend that for socks if you have an sensitivity to wool. These have just been fabulous, and you can see they've got some good stretch in all directions, and they bounce right back, and you can just throw them in the washing machine. So these have been one of my favorite pairs of socks so far. Love them. And you can see they look a lot more like a real sock than the other two. And only minor problems with this, so my process is improving even more. So then my next pair of socks, I decided, all right, I'm going all out for a full pattern. And these are just beautiful. This is yarn that is Blueface Leicester yarn. It was dyed by a local family, Callius Designs here in Barberton. And this is the Michelle Obama colorway. And I just love how this looks with this pattern. If I had not used, this is the autumn, Cozy Autumn Socks pattern on Ravelry. If I had not used this pattern, you can see it kind of would have looked like camouflage. And I didn't really care for that. But when you've got that pattern in there, it plays so nicely. But again, improvement in my process. You know, good on the cuffs, really good. The pattern, I don't think I made any mistakes. Heel flap and gusset again. And then we've got, I think by this time I had the length of my foot worked out, so that worked well. Rounded toes again. So a little more challenging, a little more improvement in the process. And these are probably my second favorite pair of socks right now. You can tell they've been worn a bit too. So next pair of socks. These are cool. And you can tell I've got my size down on my cuffs. The length of the leg I like. I've decided on about 70 rows for the leg. So that works well for me. And here comes my cat. Hi, Choops. Bye, Choops. You can tell that, now I've got my process for the cuffs down pat. I like having a leg that's about 70 rounds long. The heel flap and gusset are really what works for me for my foot, and I've got the length of the foot right. Rounded toes again. This is superwash merino and nylon from Mad Yarns, which is in Columbus, Ohio. This is their Chester sock base, and it's really nice. My son decided to name these the roller rink carpet socks, because this carpet, the colorway, which is American neon, reminded him of the carpet that's in our local roller rink. It's got a black background and then these neon colors going through it, so I'll agree with that. But you can see by now I have worked out my whole process, and everything up to this point has been knit on magic loop. So far so good. These are really fun socks too. Really fun. And then my most recent pair of socks I have worn quite a bit. And you can see I've got nice leg, heel flap and gusset. Length is good. This is yarn by 3 Irish girls in the colorway Tudor, and I love it. It looks like Tudor bricks. But at this point, I had my process down so well that I decided I was going to try something different than magic loop. So this is my first pair of socks that were on 9-inch circulars, which actually turned out fabulous. It went so fast. It was amazing. But I didn't do the 9-inch through here. I actually did switch to circulars for the heel flap and gusset, and then went back to the 9-inch till we got down to the toe. So really nice. So you can see how much everything improved, and then when my skill level with a certain method got to the point where it was no longer challenging and there was no more improvement to be seen, I decided to try a different skill and move from magic loop to 9-inch circulars. Continuous quality improvement, as you could tell with those several pairs of socks, involves continuously evaluating your processes, evaluating your methods, to see if what you're doing is the best that it can be for patient care if you're a medical laboratory scientist. If you're a knitter, it's to see if what you need to do to change your skills and your processes to get the best pair of socks that you can get, or whatever other garment you're knitting. But with the laboratory, we're always looking to make our processes the best possible for the patients, because that's the whole reason that we're here, is to care for the patients. So it's a continuous thing, so we don't just say, oh hey, we got this latest and greatest thing, we're set for the next 20 years. It doesn't work that way. Science is continually looking to find new things and new ways of doing things that will make things faster or better or more sensitive or more specific, or to be able to identify things that didn't exist before 2019, such as the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So with the socks, we demonstrated that I started out with following the rules, but the product still didn't come out so good, so I tweaked my process. The next pair of socks looked good when they were first made, but then I had an issue with the handling of the socks. And just like in the laboratory, you could do things perfectly well, but if you don't store your reagents correctly, or you don't warm them up to the right temperature, or you otherwise mishandle things, and you don't follow the guidance from the manufacturer, then you're not going to get good results. And that second pair of socks demonstrated that. I did everything according to the instructions, and it fit my foot really well, but then I mishandled them in the wash, and that affected the final product. So then the next pair of socks, instead of wool, I went acrylic. So we tried a different ingredient, let's say, or a different reagent, let's say. Started with a pattern, my first pattern on socks, first time doing a different kind of heel, and everything worked out well. And bonus, I've now gotten rid of the inherent error in mishandling them, because the acrylic yarn can just go in the washing machine. No issue there. So another process improvement. By choosing a different ingredient, I can now eliminate a source of error caused by having a more forgiving ingredient, let's say. And then the next pair, we got a little more challenging because that had a pattern to it. And with that pattern then, that means that we've gone from simplistic things to more sophisticated things. And that's exactly how science works. It's exactly how medical laboratory science works. You start with simple things when you first start understanding things, and the more information you get, the more things you try, the more skills you get, the more difficult or the more complex, but the better things can be. So that next sock set had a nice pattern, a nice color, and it worked out well. Everything was good on those socks. So then I moved on because I could now do a complicated pattern. The foot length was worked out. The heel flap and gusset is what fit my foot, so everything about it worked well. So rather than doing that same method, I moved on to using a 9-inch circular instead of doing magic loop. That can be akin to, in the laboratory, moving from a manual method to an automated method. So up to this point, we've done everything by hand, following the manufacturer's directions, and now it's to the point where we understand it so well that we can move it to an automated platform, some type of an analyzer, and then let the instrument or the analyzer do what it needs to do to get us fast, high quality, accurate results. And that can free us up then to go back to the beginning for a different method or analyte and start the whole process again. So it's a continuous process improvement. So I hope that the illustration with the socks helped you understand what it's all about. If you would like more information about continuous quality improvement or sock knitting or medical laboratory science, feel free to leave me a message or comments down below, or contact me on Instagram. I'm 20 Minutes with Tracy on Instagram, and I'll do what I can to find an answer for you. So it's been great talking with you today. I hope that you have the opportunity to explore not only sock knitting, but the world of medical laboratory science. It really is a fabulous career, and I'm all about getting more people interested. So if you or anyone that you know wants more information, just reach out. Happy to help.